In this video, I'm going to show you how to have AI analyze your request and then respond with the appropriate prompt. So I built this for one of my clients. He's a local gym owner and he wanted to be able to have a single AI assistant be able to handle a couple different requests. So he asked if it can be able to write social media captions and also write his weekly newsletter. So instead of having to go to two different AI assistants, which you would have to do in ChatGPT, I went ahead and built him his own custom AI assistant where he can actually just ask it once to say, will you write me a social media caption? He can also include things like, will you write it about strength or working out or whatever it may be. And the AI will actually analyze his request, understand that it's a social media request, and then we pre-prompted it with the social media output style and tone that he desired. The same thing can happen with his newsletter. So if he asked it to write me a newsletter and include something like a liftoff event or talking about a transformation, the AI will, number one, understand that it's a newsletter request, so it has the output style and tone that he would like to use, and then it will incorporate anything that he added into that. So instead of having to have his long prompt or switching AI assistants, he's able to use the same AI assistant that I built for him to be able to have the output, whether it be social media, newsletter, and we can add on and on and on and on. So this is something super useful if you have a whole bunch of different content styles that you want. You can create one AI assistant that will actually be able to understand your request and then provide the appropriate response. Before we jump in, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Justin and I own an AI automation consulting firm. I help clients automate tasks from content creation, like you'll see in this one, to customer engagement, data analytics, and I'm teaching you how to do the same. I'm going to go ahead and start with an AI toolbox that I built previously. It's essentially the connection that I've created between OpenAI and Slack. And then I've also put it on a cloud server so the AI bot is always available and running when you're interacting with it on Slack. So I have a free tutorial on my website, automate.com, that you can access if you end up liking this video. You can build this AI toolbox for yourself. And then on a weekly basis, I'm going to be making videos like this one where I'll create different AI assistants going over different content creation aspects, data analysis. So we'll go ahead and use the code interpreter built into the AI assistant. And then we'll also cover customer engagement. So I'll show you how to build a custom database where we can have it do onboarding tasks or any sort of customer interaction that you'd like. So to kick this one off, we're going to go ahead and jump over to ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how I come up with my custom prompts. I like to use AI to really just ask it questions about how it would write the prompt, really understanding what it thinks is an expert in the field. And I just kind of question AI to really extract the information that I want to put into my own prompt. So I'm going to show you guys how I do that. So let's get started. All right, I'll go ahead and start with the social media post captioning one first. So I want to create a warm and inviting social media post for my gym. I want help identifying some topics that would be good to discuss. So I'm really just trying to get an understanding of what ChatGPT would respond with. And then a lot of this I'll just copy and paste, but we're just starting here to get some topic ideas. So success stories, workout tips, health and nutrition advice, challenges and competitions. All of this sounds great. But moving on, the next thing I did was what sort of tone should I use? This is something that I always like to build in just to make sure that it uses a consistent tone as it really creates each of the messages. So here it says use something that's inspirational and motivational, friendly and approachable, professional but relatable, energetic and dynamic. All of this honestly sounds great. Again, there's some stuff from here that we probably won't necessarily need in our prompt. But moving on, the next step I do is, will you write instructions for an AI assistant to write the caption for a social media post based on the tone and topics you provided? So instead of trying to write it myself, let's go ahead and get a head start and really just ask it to write the instructions for us. So it says create engaging, motivational, and informative captions for our gym social media posts that resonate with our diverse audience. So it's a beautiful set of instructions to start with. But the next thing I want to do is actually jump over to the newsletter example. So this one I started slightly differently. I just said, will you please give an example of a good weekly newsletter for my gym? I didn't have any concept of what a good structure would look like, so let's just ask ChatGPT. So it gives us a welcome message, this week's class schedule, member of the week, health and fitness tip, special announcements. So there's a lot of good stuff here. Nutrition corner is pretty cool. Even asking for feedback is awesome. And then if there's some sort of featured workout, they can include that as well. Let's see, the next thing I did is, will you provide me a list of the headers in one line using commas? Kind of anticipating that I'm going to really just copy and paste the headers here, so asking it to just do that for me instead of needing to copy and paste out of that. And then again, I ask it what sort of tone should I use. So how would you instruct an AI assistant to write the weekly newsletter with those headers? And then go ahead and gives us these tone guidelines. And then here's the instructions for the AI assistant. So again, I ended there, just going to copy and paste these over, which I'll show you now. All right, and real quickly, I just wanted to let you know again that we're going to be working in the AI Toolbox that I built. So I'll give you guys a quick rundown of that setup before I jump into showing you how I copy and pasted the prompts over and finalize those. So, all right, here we are in the AI Toolbox on the main page. This creates the connection to Slack. It has everything we need to have our bot always running and available on Slack. One thing I'd like to point out here is that we have this event message handler. Ultimately, Slack has the ability to handle events in there, and a message is an event that is possible to interact with. And so we say anytime there's a message, what we want to do is have Otto say something. Say is a Slack built-in function to have it respond to that channel and to that message. So in this, what we're doing is saying, let's go ahead and have this Otto function from this Otto page be the one that responds. So the setup that I've got is this main page is really just creating all of the connections, and then every AI assistant that we'll build is always going to be in an Otto page. But what we're going to do now is really focus on this Otto page. So here we can see I've started defining a variable called social media post, which is we're really building out our prompt for the social media post. And then you can see we've got the prompt for the newsletter. So I'll probably do a little jumping back and forth between ChatGPT just to show you how I got this set up. Here, what I did was just take this first sentence and then copy and paste that exactly into our social media post variable. And then again, copy and pasted from this tone setting down to engagement techniques. Consistency, as I mentioned, we don't need. We also don't need to tell it to review and optimize. So I just copied these parts here. And then I also allowed this to be a little bit flexible. So I did make one edit to the prompt here, where instead of having it say anything about content themes here, I went ahead and said that we're going to have a specific user request which will guide the content theme. So I wanted to know that we're going to have a user request there. So now we'll move on to the newsletter. Let me show you what I did to copy and paste that over. So the first thing that I did is just say, hey, please write my weekly newsletter using the following header and instructions. So I started with the last output that it gave us and focused on that. So I just copy and pasted this. And then I believe I did remove some of the topics, but maybe not. No, it looks like I actually just copy and pasted that one. And then I said, please follow these tone guidelines. So copy and pasted that as well. So you can see how easy it is to actually just have AI pretty much write our prompts for us. A lot of just question, answering, response, and then telling it to create that prompt for us. And we take what we need from it and build it in there. So those are the two variables and definitions that we'll set up in order to have our AI bot give us a response that we like. So we'll start with these and test it out. We'll go from there. All right, now that we have our prompts built out, we're quickly going to throw them into a dictionary so our AI bot can reference these prompts. And then we're going to jump right into having AI analyze our request using OpenAI's function calling. So a lot of that might sound scarier and intimidating than it actually is, but let me go ahead and start by creating this dictionary for us. And then, like I said, we'll move on to the next steps. All right, so you can see I've already got my dictionary in here. And as always, I like to create a header, create dictionary to reference. I've called the dictionary content type dictionary. And then we've got a social media post reference, which will pull in the social media post prompt, newsletter reference, newsletter prompt, and then I've created a default. So for this one, I just said a friendly and experienced fitness, health, and wellness coach and personal trainer. let me add the C there, with the following: education, experience, ability to customize programs, motivational skills. So I got this from one of our previous tutorials. That way, if the user is requesting something other than those two, our AI will still have a response, and it will be of the tone of a friendly and experienced coach and trainer. So all right, next I'm going to show you guys how to use OpenAI's function calling. It's going to analyze the request that we're getting from the user, and then it's going to give it to us in a very structured format called JSON. So this will make it very easy for us to reference the dictionary that we've got. So let me show you guys that. I'm going to walk you through this part for now. So we're calling it content type function as our variable name, and then we're giving the function an actual name. We're saying extract content type. We'll give it a description, extract the type of content from the user input, and then we come down here to this description and we say decide whether the user is requesting a social media post or a newsletter. If they want a social media post, write social media post. If they want a newsletter, write newsletter. Otherwise, write default. So this is the instructions that we're giving it, and then we also need to say which variable or function is required, because we can actually have multiple properties and parameters, but right now we just want one, and we just want it to tell us whether it's social media or newsletter. All right, so next we're going to start working on the Otto function, which is our handler that will determine how we respond to the message. So the first step is we need to have it analyze the request to determine whether it's a social media post or newsletter, like I just informed you guys. So I'm going to walk you through how we get that set up. All right, so I've already got the code copy and pasted in here, and I'm just going to quickly walk you guys through it and then actually show you how this works. But what I've done here is created an example. I've created a text variable that is going to be passed through our function. When we remove this, what's going to happen is that the main page is going to handle the event message from Slack, and the text or the request is going to be passed through to this function. But for now, we're just going to use this example, which is write me a social media post about working out. So real quickly, this top part is OpenAI's way of calling in this function that we've built and then running the set of instructions on this content that we're defining. And we're saying that the content is this text variable. So it's going to run it on this for us. And then here you can choose which function you're wanting to run. If you have multiple functions, you can determine which one you'd like to select. So let me show you guys this in an example. I'm going to run all the code from here down just so you guys can see. That way now we have our dictionary being able to reference these prompts. We've also got our function set up, and then we've also got the text defined. So now I'm going to show you guys how to really analyze and understand this bottom part here. So the first part runs that function, and then here we're getting the output. So let me just show you guys what that output looks like. Here you can see we're getting this chat completion message, and then it should have the content type in here. So here it actually did the analysis, the content type extracted, which is this definition that we've built here. And then it ran the instructions and it determined that it's a social media post. So that's good. The next thing we're doing is actually just narrowing this down a bit more. And we're saying just give us the extracted metadata. So here it's just the content type extracted in social media post. And then what we want to do is just have this say social media post. So the content type extracted is now social media post. So you can see the next step, we're going to actually be able to use this social media post definition, and then we'll call in the prompt from there. So all right, the next step is to just reference our dictionary, and then we'll actually get the correct prompt, or what I'll call the writing style. Let me show you. All right, so here you can see I've created this variable called writing style, and what that does, as I mentioned, is reference the dictionary. So let's just go ahead and run this, and then we'll look at what writing style says. So boom, it pulled in the correct one. This is the prompt that we had for the social media post, so that's working. All right, next we're just going to build out the prompt that we'll send to OpenAI. So that's going to include the writing instructions as well as the request from the user. And then what we're going to do is send that to OpenAI, And I'm just going to use a function that I've actually discussed in a prior video. So you'll see anything that I reference in the utilities is something that I've actually done in a prior video. So in order to not be repetitive, I just reference that in the utility tab. And that's going to be the chat completions function that I'll use. And just as its name is given, it's using the chat completions API to be able to run and process the request or prompt that we're going to send in. And then we'll follow up by having our save function be able to actually give us the response in Slack. All right, so here you can see I build out the prompt input. This is what we're going to send to OpenAI. It says, please reference the writing instructions and then use this writing style. Please incorporate the user request, and here's the text. And then what we do next is we create this response. So this is basically where we're asking the OpenAI to give us a response by using this chat completion function that I mentioned. We're feeding it this prompt input 1. And then we end off here with that say function, and we're just using the text as the response. So what that's doing is saying, hey, in Slack, give us this response. All right, and as always, we're gonna end this by getting our Slack bot updated. As I mentioned, I'm building off prior videos where I already have my AI assistant set up in Slack. So now all we need to do is push this code to GitHub. That's gonna automatically trigger our cloud server, which we're hosting in Render, to update. And then our AI assistant will be updated. And it's honestly that easy. And I'm gonna show you guys right now how we can do that in our code base. All right, so the first step that we're gonna do is go up here and remove this text line. We don't need that to be included in our code as we're gonna feed it the user request, as I mentioned earlier. And then what we're gonna do is navigate over to the source control tab. We're just gonna give this a name. Any name is fine, but we're gonna call this one the content type assistant. As I mentioned, I'm building these on a weekly basis, and I'm just gonna try to create names that reference the actual bot that we're building. So here we're just going to go ahead and say commit and push, and then we'll save all and commit changes, and then that will kick off GitHub to update, which will again trigger the cloud server, and then I'll let you guys know once that's done. All right, so the server is updated now, and I'll show you guys in Slack. But before I do that, I did have one error in the file, which I'll quickly show you guys. I just forgot to include a text on the main page. I had changed that last time and forgot that I had done that. But I'll show you guys that real quickly, and then we'll hop over to Slack. All right, so here we are on the main page, and I forgot to include this text variable. In the last one, we were just having Otto say something, and we didn't really need to give any input, so I had deleted that. But for this video, we do need it, so I included that. Now let me show you guys what's happening in Slack. So here we can just go ahead and say, please write me a social media post about strength. And then we should get a response. And once we do that, we'll say, please write me a newsletter and talk about the lift off event coming up on May 1st, let's say. So we'll let this one respond to us, and then we'll go ahead and process the second one. So let's give that a second to run. Boom. So strength isn't just about the weights you lift, it's about the resilience you build. This week we're focusing on not only building physical strength, but also enhancing mental tenacity. So this is pretty good. We've got quick tips, witness transformation at our gym. So I got a lot of good stuff here. I like it. And you know, as always, this is just a good starting point for us. So for my client, this is something I would approach them with, and then we can refine it from there. For this one, we'll look at the newsletter now. So we'll process that, and then we'll wait for that to give us a response, and we'll quickly check it out. We are hoping that it has those headers built in. We're hoping that it has some good content, and also we'll talk about this liftoff event. So let's see if it incorporates everything that we have asked for. All right, so that actually gave us a response, and as we can see, it's using this double star. I think it's because we had that in our prompt as we copy and pasted out of ChatGPT with those. So what we would want to do is actually just remove one of the stars or even both of them, I imagine it would already bold those. But if we remove one, and then we can even add some additional context in the prompt and say format for Slack, and then that will actually have it update for us. All right, you guys, after a little bit of trial and error, I went ahead and removed all of the asterisks in here. And then I added this line that says double asterisks are forbidden. Do not include them in your response. Said please use single asterisks for bold formatting, including all headers, words, titles, etc. And then I also had to add it one more place down here, at least a different type of note, just alluding to the same thing. But after you write the response, replace all double asterisks with single asterisks. And that seemed to have done the trick. I went ahead and pushed that and got it live, and then I'll show you over in Slack the response here. So here it is. You can see that we've got bold working everywhere and there's no more double asterisks. So here we'll just go ahead and look through this week's class schedule. In this we'll be able to actually just work with the gym owner and have them upload their actual schedules if this is something they wanted. We can always highlight a member of the week. The tip we can just use as they gave it to us, or even come up with some sort of way to influence that. The special announcements, it's got that in here. If there was anything else we wanted to talk about it, we could. There's a featured workout if the gym owner wanted to keep this in there. They gave us a nice little recipe here in the spinach and berry smoothie. So you can see it's pretty robust and comprehensive, and it also took in some of the feedback. So this is something that I'll actually take to the gym owner now and see what he would like to add, remove, and how much influence we can have for anything that he'd like to share. So that'll be it. All right, you guys, as you can see, this is a pretty cool way to automate content. You can even go ahead and give input into the AI bot. You can have it create different types and styles. And then you can even take this to the next level where you can connect to Gmail or to any email provider. Slack makes that super easy to do. I'll be going over that in a later video. So if you want to stay tuned, you can go ahead and subscribe and follow along. You can check out the AI assistants that I'll be making on a weekly basis. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.